Today we're going to discuss how Admed, Comcast, and IBM developed an innovative way to educate the science behind opioids and how to avoid them. We're piloting our website, understandthescience.com, here at the Venture Cafe, and invite you to take a look and provide feedback to us through a survey. I would also like to introduce our partners at Comcast and IBM, Amy Ellenberger, VP of EBI Solutions Development at Comcast, and Oscar Lara Yejas, Senior Data Scientist of the Machine Learning Hub at IBM. At Admed, our mission is to break down the walls of complex science and open it to all. We do this by creating short visual modern learning videos that are written and presented by our doctoral level scientists. We've developed training for the largest pharmaceutical and biotech companies in the world by simplifying the science behind complex diseases and treatments. We are now looking to put this knowledge and experience to use right here in our own community of Philadelphia. It's no secret that the opioid epidemic has affected our city in a very profound way. And not only is it a societal problem and an economic problem, but the opioid epidemic is also a science problem. And like all science problems, it can be solved with knowledge. Learning the science behind the facts is important in avoiding opioid misuse, and studies show that modern learning is most effective in short videos, as visual learning. At Admed, we believe that by creating educational videos that simplify the science behind opioid misuse, specifically for adolescents and their parents or caregivers, we can make a real difference in our community. Together with Comcast and IBM, we've created a website, understandthescience.com, that will educate our community about opioid abuse and avoidance. Users can watch our visual learning videos, enter queries in the search bar, browse our FAQs, or directly ask questions in their own words to our AI-powered chatbot, Opie. All of the search results and answers are referenced for accuracy and link back to our visual learning videos. Amy and Oscar, could you speak more about your involvement in understandthescience.com and the contributions of our partners at Comcast and IBM?
So I'll start. My name's Amy Ellenberger, and as Joan introduced me, I am the Vice President of Solution Development over at Comcast. Comcast has a long history of giving back to our community. Every year we do things like Comcast Cares Day, and we do smaller engagements around the community to make sure that we can provide our talents to help better our society, especially the communities we live and work in. So when we met with Joan, this was a great opportunity for us to call on a group of volunteer engineers, data scientists, and back-end developers to allow us to come and jointly pull together this prototype. I do want to make sure that we understand and express that this is a pilot. What we're trying to do is find the gap between what kinds of audiences we want to reach. We are looking to talk to the average individual. We are targeting adolescents, we are targeting parents, we are targeting people who don't live and breathe the medical environment every single day. And I think that was one of the great things about the partnership between Joan's team and ours. They have such a great depth and expertise, and we don't speak the medical language. So we got to ask a lot of very interesting questions and make some comments on how to make sure that it was relatable content. So when we start to work with all of you and ask for your feedback, we'll be asking to make sure that the content was relevant, that the kinds of questions that we are using to train the learning systems behind this website are accurate, are using very pedestrian voices, and are resonating with our audience. I think that's one of the biggest things about training an AI-based system, is having representative questions and data to make sure that we are answering the right questions with the right tone and the right language. One of our goals is to make sure that, one, we created an interesting way to interact with some of the capability. We wanted to make sure that you have the ability to, if you have and know exactly what your question is, interact with the chatbot. If you aren't sure where to start, you can start with a video library in the carousel. If you wanted to understand what other people are asking, you can go through frequently asked questions, and that will start you on your journey with being creative and curious. And when you search the video library, one of the great things about the search is that it will take you right to the point in the video that has the answer that you're looking for. This is unique. Again, as Jonah pointed out, some of her research shows that the attention span of the individual consumer just isn't what it used to be anymore. So we really wanted to make sure you got right where the answer is, and then have the option to go to different points of time in the content. And that's the kind of thing we're hoping that you really explore as you try the website, and give us feedback. How is the content? How is the layout? Is it intuitive for you to be able to use this? What kinds of questions do you have that you would ask yourself? And did Opie get it right? Did we have the right tags on the library? How can we make sure that anyone who comes and interacts with this system is getting the information that they need to be more aware, so that we have the ability to be very confident as we start distributing this past just smaller pilot audiences. We'd like to see this go broader than Philadelphia. With that, Oscar, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Amy, and thank you so much, John, for inviting me to this beautiful event. So let me just share my screen real quick. All right, so my name is Oscar Larrayejas, and I'm a senior data scientist with the IBM Data Science and AI Elite team. Over the past 5 years, and probably a little bit more, I've had the opportunity to work with different enterprises. Healthcare has kind of a special place in my heart, you know, being able to use my work as a tool to help people and to improve on people's lives. That's something really, really rewarding. So when John first invited me, I invited my team to join this adventure of building this platform for people to learn about opioids. I was super, super excited and super thrilled. And I definitely said, yes, you know, let's do it, let's work on that. And let's build something cool out of this. I mean, this is an opportunity to show the power of AI in a context that's you know, positive and can directly impact people's well-beings and lives. So the main motivation of building a chatbot to answer questions on opioids was related to, you know, who would you ask personal health questions, right? Would you go to your health professional, your doctor, your therapist, or, you know, or would you rather go online and find on your own? There are certain more personal topics within healthcare, such as drugs, in which may feel a little bit hesitant or judged if they share or disclose their questions and their, you know, inquiries about certain health topics. That's the main motivation for building this virtual assistant, which we called OP, which is based upon Watson, all the research that very smart people in IBM I have the privilege to work with have built. I was really excited actually when the team came up with this design. I was super excited to see, you know, how cute it is and how engaging. I like calling it, you know, the cutest chatbot in town. That's our friend OP. So OP was trained with hours and hours of video lectures created by Admed, you know, PhD level scientists. I wanted to talk a little bit about how these systems work and what is it that, you know, you need if you would like to create a chatbot. How do you format the data in the right way so that the models can consume it? Then building different models, and, you know, you need to have the computer to understand the question, map it to your knowledge base, and find the answer in there. So that's really challenging because people can ask questions in many different ways. And then once you have built these models and you have, you know, your team of data scientists build all these things for you, you need a development team able to deploy this. So then I learned about Watson Assistant, and I realized that, you know, this product actually offered all of this pipeline out of the box. You don't have to code anything. You don't have to write a single line of code to train models or to deploy or anything like that. And you can simply upload your questions and answers documents. I wanted to show you a little bit of how the chatbot looks like, and then a little bit of Watson Assistant very quickly. So this is OP right here, and you can start asking questions. You know, you can ask, for example, what are opioids? That is a very easy one, for example. And then you can start seeing some answers here, as well as some links to dig into some further information. You can ask, for example, give me examples of opioids, for instance, and then you'll get some of them, such as, you know, morphine, heroin, and so forth. Then we can start asking maybe some more challenging questions. For example, would workout help with my pain? And then this question is kind of a little bit trickier because the word workout is not in this text. And somehow we have trained the system so that it knows that exercise and workout are synonyms, right? So even though I'm not saying the word exercise in my question, a Watson Assistant is automatically mapping because it knows that workout and exercise are related, right? You can ask more questions, for example, maybe not such a positive one, can I die from opioids? And it will kind of do the same, where even though the word die is not in this text, right? The word death is. So once again, Watson Assistant knows that die and death are related.
Thank you, Oscar. Thank you, Amy. I wanted to mention for the pilot, Admed has created 4 videos, and they're all about 2 minutes in length. And the topics are, what are opioids? Why are adolescents at a greater risk for opioid addiction? Are all opioids the same? And what do you do if you are prescribed an opioid? This is just the beginning of us creating educational videos that simplify the science behind opioid abuse. UnderstandTheScience.com is in its pilot phase now, and we'd like to test it out with all of you joining us today. Now I will turn it over for our Q&A to Dr. Rebecca Tenaglia.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you everyone for joining us. It looks like a question in the chat that might be good for Amy. It says, what strategies will you use to generate traffic to your webpage and get this information in front of the people who need it?
I think that's a great one. We will be working with Joan to see how and when to include some of these things, and we're in a lot of exploratory discussions around distribution. What is the easiest way to get this material in front of other people? So I think there's a couple of things we can do. One is just through different partnerships we have, whether it's school districts, local community centers, different things to get people in and trying and interacting with it. As well as trying to make sure that we have some corporate partnerships and new distribution channels that we can explore.
Question, what is the background of the content specialist? So at Admed, all of our content specialists are PharmDs, so doctorate degree in pharmacy, or PhDs in the sciences. So all of our information that we present is medically accurate and referenced, as Oscar said. When you go to the web page and you're playing with Opie, the cutest chatbot, you'll see that when he responds, he gives you the reference to the website or the source of the information. Another question I'd like to toss to Oscar perhaps is, how has AI been able to solve other medical problems?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there are many applications. For example, one of the first projects I worked on in the healthcare space was related to medication compliance and adherence. We were working with a company in Kansas City, and their goal was to basically predict who are the patients who may be at risk of not complying with the medication. And we built some AI models for that, and they were able to implement it in a really nice end-to-end system that allows to send, reminders to those people who may be at risk of not complying with their medication. At the same time, this year, IBM began to work on an effort for the COVID-19 pandemic, and we were able to actually build. I was part of that team who built something called Watson Assistant for Citizens, which is a platform that allows to answer questions on COVID-19, kind of the same chatbot that we showed today on opioids, but more on the COVID-19. And not only that, but also being able to expand this technology for many industries who may be, facing clients who may have certain concerns or questions on how the pandemic is affecting their businesses. And you name it, there are many other applications, such as for image, recognition. Think about diagnosing automatically whether radiology image corresponds to a patient of cancer or not. There are many applications of AI on healthcare. IBM in itself has a Watson Health department with thousands of developers and data scientists dedicated exclusively to addressing healthcare issues with AI. And as I said in my presentation earlier, right, healthcare in particular has a really nice place in my heart, because it's really rewarding to apply all of our work as scientists and engineers to helping, directly impacting well-being of people and helping them. Yeah.
I've also seen and been a part of a couple of different projects outside of my work at Comcast that allowed us to do use AI for clinical trials matching, understanding the different kinds of drugs, treatments, and options to help people get there faster. And that's a public-facing site that allows them to bring and put research in their own hands. So that was a great example of how to use AI in the medical field. And there's also been a few where they're working on how can you use AI in telehealth? How do you make sure that your different equipments and monitors for folks like diabetics might have early warnings or early alerts, and being able to use them to identify anomalies in your own health that would alert your caregivers and just have a faster path to assistance and professional care.
Thank you, Amy. It looks like there's another question that you might want to speak to, or any of our panelists. It says, who would you describe as your target audience, and what are their primary motives for using this site over other available resources?
I can go first, but I'm sure that there is a vision that Joan has for broader than my own personal interests. But as the mother of a teenage daughter, this is the way that my kids interact. This is how they fact find. This is where they go to find their truth. And this is a comfortable space for them to interact and to share this kind of information with their friends in a situation where they may not be comfortable asking me or asking their health teacher. Their source of truth is what they hear from their peers, what they see on YouTube, and what they get on the internet. And what we're hoping to do is at least reach that audience and think about student athletes that have injuries, or dancers that hit injuries earlier in their life cycle. If there's anything we can do to make sure they're armed with the right information at the right level that they can understand, then they're more equipped to ask questions themselves, to know the signs before we would, and open a dialogue that we're not used to having. So I think this is one of the intents around our audiences, and a new way for people to learn and grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just to echo on what Amy just mentioned, and I also mentioned this earlier, right? The fact that there are so many resources available online is good, but at the same time, it could be challenging because many of these resources may not be from reliable sources, or may not be accurate, or maybe, fake. And just having this content, which is previously curated by, scientists who are expert in this topic, right, just gives you the confidence that the contents you're presenting to the audience is appropriate, is good, and it actually is complete to answer the questions that whether it is teenagers or young adults may have on opioids and other topics as well.
Looks like there's another question for our panelists about what it was like working together and what your process for this project was.
Within our team, it wasn't hard at all to find volunteers. And with the proximity of where Admed is and the Comcast Center City location, it was very easy to brainstorm together. And it's been wonderful to see an image that we drew on a piece of paper a few months ago come to life, to video Oscar and his team in to make sure that we had everyone's opinion, but to watch something that we drew on a whiteboard come to life has been really great. So we're we're excited to launch it into the next phase of its life.
Absolutely, and I want to thank Joanne and the admin team for inviting us to this project. I personally had a lot of fun. I'm the one who's not in Philadelphia. I'm in California, so I had to sometimes wake up at 5 and 6 in the morning for some meetings, which was a little bit challenging. But to see the result, it's actually pretty fun, and being involved with this team of professionals and very talented and smart people, it was definitely a joy. So once again, thank you, Joanne and team, for having me in this project, and we definitely look forward, me and my team, to keep working with you on future projects as well.
We really all share the same mission, and we're really excited to take this to the community of Philadelphia and make it a success, and then go to other cities and to help the next generation to avoid opioids.